Hello, what a pleasure.
Thank you.
How was the first part of this day in Zurich?
Really cozy, really relaxed, surprisingly chilled. Yeah, and
Chilled
interesting.
and interesting.
Yeah,
of
obviously,
course.
yeah.
So, opening question has to be, what is the digital pulse from your perspective?
I think the digital pulse is to stay true to who you are as a company and who your audience is. So obviously for us at Refinery 29, it's also circling around female empowerment, diversity, like giving women a platform to reclaim their power, basically. And that is for us the pulse.
I know you're like chief editor at Refinery 29, so you're really deep in all the content issues and all the stories which are going on or coming in the next issues and the next weeks and months. What are like the main topics or the most challenging projects at the moment at your desk or in your inbox?
Well, the inbox is filled daily with so many emails, so that's daily challenging. But I think the biggest issue for us is like to really tap into the German diversity or Swiss and Austrian diversity, because obviously it's not visually as seen as maybe in the US or in Asia. So obviously for us to really portray the diversity that we have in our countries is not so easy and not so easy to show. So that is the biggest issue for us.
I know you started quite some time ago in Germany and was from scratch, so it was a 0% was there before. How hard was that, and how much of the content is coming from the US, for example, or from other countries, and how much is really created in Germany or in the German language area?
Like we really wanted to create a German product, so obviously we only translate like 30% is translated and the rest is locally produced. And that is super important for us because we really want to have a global conversation, but that is adapted to the local market. And that is why we feel it's important to tell German stories from a German culture, from a German visual identity, from a German perspective, that although then have like a global perspective to it.
And later this afternoon you will participate in the female panel this afternoon, right? How important are like global movements like Me Too or other examples for a brand like Refinery and of course for the whole content production and revenue streams?
I mean, it's super important. The beauty of the internet, as I'd like to say it, is that we know what is happening in other countries, on other continents, and I think like conversations like these that really help to show that there are misconstructions somewhere else and that people suffer from discrimination or something else that really has to be put on the open table, you know. So I think the more we speak openly about those topics on a global perspective, the more can change actually.
What is your source of inspiration or of innovation? What do you do to recharge, but also to get motivated to do new things, to try new stuff?
To recharge, I actually try to decharge my phone. So I keep my phone off. And what I always tell my team is that in order to tell stories, you actually have to experience stories. So I always encourage them to talk to the person who sells food to them in a restaurant, talk to them who sells them the train ticket, I don't know, like talk to your mom, to your grandpa, what they experienced before. So I really think that keeping your mind open and really being interested in other people's lives and their visions is what keeps me personally motivated and inspired. Yeah.
I know before you joined Refinery, you were working for a very famous brand and product as well, the Interview magazine, right? So you were in contact with a lot of interesting people, I would assume. A lot of concerts, a lot of billboard charts, whatever. If I would set up a lunch tomorrow morning, a one-on-one for 2 hours with anyone in the world, just you and the person, who should that be?
Oh my God, dead or alive?
Your choice.
I think like at the moment, obviously Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
What would be your first question to Oprah?
What do you think about Oprah 2020?
Okay, that's a great one. I'll buy that. And if I could take you out of the business, easy, you could go back, take a sabbatical for a year. What would you do with that time? Just your time.
I would be somewhere at the beach, surfing, drinking coconuts, listening to music, being there obviously with my friends and family, hopefully, and just enjoying sunsets and sunrises and sunsets and sunrises.
Collecting all those stories.
Yes.
So when you're involved in, let's say, challenging projects, which I assume you are, how do you take tough decisions? Are you more a person that decides by gut or by data-based analytical things? How do you function?
I think it's a mix of both nowadays. I think I got to where I am because I always trusted my gut, and I was lucky enough that my gut brought me to where I am now. But I think a good decision is always that a decision is being made, regardless of if it's then like turns out a bad one or a good one in the end. But like taking decisions is a good thing from the start. And I think the best decisions are a mixture of both, that you actually know your expertise, but that you never forget the feeling inside you. And we are all human. So I think like data is important, but a bit of human gut feeling is never wrong.
Looking at Refinery, what is the corp culture? Is it a lean company? Is it a very hierarchic company? How is like the communicational behavior?
Oh, it's very relaxed. Like we have 4 founders, 2 men, 2 women. They partly sit with their teams, so the hierarchy is very, very low. Or there's basically not like a very much big hierarchy, and I think that's very important to keep people motivated. You know, we are talking about dialogues with our audience. So the first dialogue that has to start is within the team. And I think having offices now in New York, LA, London, and Berlin, and more coming with the global rollout, I think it's really nice to see that. This whole communication really is working, and that even though we are in Berlin, for example, we still very much feel linked to the New York and to the US in general. So I think that is also partly what the success is about, that you can actually, or I can actually call my CEO.
As an editor, if you look out like globally, is there a brand or a person or a group of people you would love to work with as editor of Refinery? You know, someone or somebody to say, wow, if I could call these guys and talk to them and start something, an initiative or a movement or whatever, tomorrow or next month, who would that be?
Obviously there are loads of brands and initiatives, but actually for me it's more about that one woman sitting somewhere in Germany, not in a big city, that has never been heard, and hearing her stories and actually giving her the platform to tell her story and what she is about and her dreams are about and her fears are about. So for me that is more important than most of the brands.
All right, folks, now you definitely know and understand what makes Refinery really special, because you will find those stories there. So check out Refinery 29. Even if you didn't do it until now, you should do it. Thanks for having some time joining your time with us, and we will watch you on the panel afterwards. And hopefully see you back in Zurich.
Oh, for sure. It's so nice here. I'm going to be back for sure.